Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
What up, though, Detroit? It's time to wake up. Woodward. Hey, yo, and look, we got to get to these headlines kind of around the city, man. How you feeling this morning, though, brother?
I'm great. Good morning, Kool-Aid. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Sam, how are you feeling this morning, my brother?
Good, man. Let's get to those headlines.
Let's get to those headlines. And we got the Booth Boys as well. We got JB Smooth. We got KG, man. But look, there's a couple things that went down. Obviously, some of the biggest news that went down, the Detroit Pistons at the trade deadline. You also have Dan Campbell and his Coach of the Year stuff. We got Michigan football, though.
Hey, Wink Martindale.
Wink Martindale. Can you get that graphic up, brother?
That's a big hire. That's a. I'll let you keep going, but that's a big hire.
No, it is. And per Adam Schefter, Michigan is planning to hire former Giants defensive coordinator Wink Martindale as its defensive coordinator per sources. Deal is still being finalized, but is not expected to be an issue. Martindale will replace Jesse Minter, who became the Chargers' defensive coordinator. And this is something that we brought up on several shows. I know there was a couple shows I was on, and KG was actually in a booth, and we talked about this. Sam as well. We talked about, can Sharon Moore attract these big-time hires just the same way that Jim Harbaugh did for Michigan football? And how far will this team drop if they can? You know, if they can't effectively.
Right.
I think this is a big hire. And Adam Schefter, he actually has some more to say about this hire. He said Michigan's past two defensive coordinators, Minter and Mike McDonald, ran a version of Wink Martindale's defense with similar concepts and terminology. Thus, the adjustment for players might not be quite as dramatic as if another NFL coach took over. So I think this bodes well for Michigan, their coaches, their program, how robust they're going to be to kind of field something similar to what they had underneath Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, this is a Wink Martindale is a very, I don't want to say historic. He's been around the game a very long time. He's a very experienced. That's the word I'm looking for. An experienced head coach in the NFL, and that's the type of system that both Mike McDonald and then Jesse Minter ran as defensive coordinators at Michigan the last 2 years. So he comes in. There won't be a lot of change schematically, a lot of change philosophically, and that was the one thing. The defense. The boys, they're back at Michigan. But now the question was, who are they going to replace Jesse Minter with to keep that momentum rolling? I think it's a great hire. And with him coming in, there's got to be more to come to his staff, or just bringing in an NFL coach like this. Great start. Great start for Sharon Moore, building out his staff.
Definitely. It's got to instill a lot more confidence as well in fans and people who are looking to see what this program is going to do. Sam, what are your thoughts on this, Sam?
I am pretty damn happy about this.
Let's go.
Let's go.
I know that there's been a lot of chatter over the last few days about how they took Ben Herbert, Jim Harbaugh took Ben Herbert, the strength and conditioning coach. They took Jesse Minter, the former defensive coordinator, who obviously did a phenomenal job. And then, of course, after 2021, they lost Mike McDonald to the NFL, who obviously was a massive success as a defensive coordinator with the Ravens. So basically what this means is that you have – for the Michigan has their third consecutive elite NFL defensive coordinator on this team, on this defense. Because what do we talk about when it comes to this upcoming Michigan team? Yes, there's some questions around the offensive side of the ball. They're basically returning Donovan Edwards, Colston Loveland, and then nobody else. But on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, Rod Moore, All-American season incoming. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're right.
I know that sounds a little. But really, does it sound overblown? This Michigan defense is talented, and I think Wink Martindale is going to help them continue to thrive. They get another great defensive coordinator. That is something that Michigan has had. That's one of the ways in which the program has really turned around with the defensive coordinators and obviously the talented players as well. So that just continues, and I think that gives me more confidence that this team next year will at least be pretty damn good. And this defense might be one of the best in the country still.
Yeah, definitely. And it was interesting during the kind of the playoff football, the college playoff football. I'm saying this all backwards.
Oh, you're good.
College football playoff. One thing that we remarked when we were all sitting here for the watch parties was how well Michigan's defensive schemes were. it was just like looking at how they handled even the comeback attempt of Alabama, how they handled Washington, and how they handled Penix. One of the things that I loved is absolutely the great positions they were put in to be able to have success against what most people thought were either better talented teams, more talented teams, or had some very, very talented people at the skilled positions like quarterback and wide receiver. I'm looking forward to those types of schemes being something that can help put Michigan defense over the top yet again. Despite the talent they do or don't have on that defensive side of the ball, I'm really looking forward to what Wink Martindale can do here.
I almost forgot, how rude of me not to mention the guys that I already did. Future top 5 pick, and next year Jim Thorpe Award winner Will Johnson as well. How did I almost forget that guy? Yeah. Best corner in the country. Was the best corner in the country this year, and he's going to be the best corner in the country next year.
Hey,
Let's go.
I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, and look, moving on in some of these headlines, man. The Red Wings, they do kick off the second half of the season tonight at LC. I mean, on Saturday at LCA against the Canucks. Oh man, we got to tap into the Red Wings a lot more.
We do. We're going to start, adding more and more each week. Just to be totally clear, Red Wings isn't our strength here as a crew. So the more coverage will likely be when we bring in guests. We bring in more experienced NHL minds, hockey minds, to really dive a little deeper into it. But we hope to bring you, key moments, top plays, really highlight this Red Wings team, because when Hockey Town is Hockey Town, this city also comes alive, just as they do when the Lions are good and the Tigers and the Pistons. Yep. So we're going to be covering more Red Wings, but they have a big second half coming up.
Yeah.
Alex Lyon,
playoff push.
Yeah, Alex Lyon, their goalie, has been a huge part of their success, at least in the second half of the first half. Alex DeBrincat went to the All-Star game and represented the Red Wings. Some think he may got snubbed for the All-Star game MVP, scoring 3 goals, one of which was a shootout win in overtime. So Red Wings, they're back. They're back. And what I found out Saturday, Patrick Kane, newly acquired or relatively newly acquired right wing, he will be playing. And all 23 players that were on the roster when he was traded here are healthy and playing to start on Saturday versus the Canucks at LCA.
Hey, see, that's a lot of information that you know there.
We're just pounding right through it. This is around the city. We're just going to hit you with the facts.
Also, Tigers' top prospects, the Detroit Tigers' top prospects are invited to spring training this year. And obviously, we have our resident Tigers beat writer here, man. What can you tell us about that? 6
days, pitchers and catchers report to spring training in Lakeland or St. Petersburg. I should know that. Report for spring training, pitchers and catchers. On the 19th, the full squad is together. But the highlight of this spring training, there were these 7 other top prospects, 8 if you include Colt Keith, their really top prospect, who they just signed to a 6-year, $28 million extension. We might be talking about that a little bit later.
Yes, sir.
Some of these prospects, like Jace Young, Justin Henry Malloy, Colt Keith, obviously, Jackson Jobe, these guys are invited to big league camp as non-roster invites, trying to make this team, trying to make an opening day roster. It will be unlikely that all of them make the opening day roster, but this is good experience to start the season.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about their base of talent that they have amongst their prospects, and the fact that it looks like these guys soon are going to get their shot to really prove themselves.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. But Lions hired Deshae Townsend as passing game coordinator and cornerback coach. And I know, KG, you were talking about the hire as well and being excited about this thing, man. How you feeling?
Hey, man, I feel great about the hire. I just don't know what it necessarily means for Dre Bly, who was already in place there. Maybe they saw some things that he was doing that, they felt they can improve upon. So, but overall, I like the hire. He's coming from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have a pretty solid secondary. He also has a long, extensive history of being a cornerbacks coach in the league and some college. So I'm looking forward to what he can bring to this Lions backfield. We need anything at this point. So
yeah, and it's what we kept talking about. The Detroit Lions have proven underneath this new regime of Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes, Sheila, and whatnot, that they're not afraid to go out there and make improvements. They're not afraid to go out there and shake things up, whether it be with players or whether it be with their coaches. And I've absolutely loved that with them, because it shows that they're not going to be those guys kind of stuck in their ways, even if something might not be working. And you got to think about this. I think if these are kind of incremental steps year by year for the team, and not necessarily Super Bowl aspirations where you got to go out there and make sure everything is on point. Yeah. Maybe they do, maybe they don't make a move like this. But knowing that this team now, in terms of the 2 coaches they've brought in, have been along the defensive, centered around the defensive line and the cornerbacks. Yeah. That to me says, with the weaknesses we've seen on defense, that the Lions are thinking, man.
Nice connect. You found a little pattern there. Yeah. You know, they're not just going to be adding players to that defense. They're going after the coaches. KG?
Yeah, so I got to play devil's advocate, though.
Yeah.
Do you think they're kind of letting Aaron Glenn off the hook a little bit? This is now the second defensive backs coach that has been brought in. And Aaron Glenn hasn't been touched to this point, or, you know, we haven't seen anything that would give the indication that, you know, they're trying to, you know, move on from Aaron Glenn. Do you think he's getting a pass at this point?
That's a great question. I would say no. Just my opinion, looking at it from a bird's eye view. We haven't heard yet what is going to happen with Dre Bly. I actually think he's going to stay on the roster or stay on the staff. The same thing with when Terrell Williams, the defensive line coach, was hired. There hasn't been news that John Scott Jr., he was a first-year defensive line coach last season, haven't had news that he's leaving the team. When Deshae Townsend was announced as the DB coach and passing game coordinator, there were questions about Tanner Engstrand, the offensive passing game coordinator. To clarify, this is Deshae Townsend was brought in to be the defensive passing game coordinator. So my thoughts, and this is not confirmed yet, my thoughts is that they're just adding more leadership, adding more vision's not the right word, but really honing in, especially on the defensive side, the passing game aspect, helping out Dre Bly and John Scott Jr. in the passing game. The cornerback struggled. They just need some. And I don't know what the secret sauce is, but I just think he's another set of eyes, another coach who's played the position 12 years in the NFL, supporting Dre Bly, supporting Aaron Glenn. I don't know if it speaks to them giving Aaron Glenn too much of a chance or something, but that's just my opinion, KG.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I think two of the bigger headlines from yesterday, we're going to continue to break these down in some further segments. Yeah. The Detroit Pistons at the trade deadline.
Kool-Aid, you got to talk. I'm so lost.
Help us, please.
Man.
I'm not. Listen, I went on E&E yesterday. Shout out to Armani and Edwards with Maz. We spoke about it a little bit on this show yesterday. I talked about it all week on Woodward Pistons as well. This whole trade deadline actually confirmed what my suspicions were. The players that you drafted to be the stars of this team, the players that you drafted to have an impact similar to Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner, those are the players that they're now putting this kind of push forward, this restore, this rebuild. They're putting this now all in their hands. If you look at the last two games, who are the primary, because they've won 2 games in a row now. Golf clap for the Pistons. You know, they went into overtime. They came back from down, I believe, 29 points. It was the biggest, largest comeback since, I believe, 97, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And they did it based on all of the young players. You're talking about they're shorthanded. They didn't get the ability to utilize the players that they traded for. And now you no longer have a Bojan and a Burks and some of these veterans like Knox that you were kind of depending on prior. No, the last 2 games were 2 wins that were brought forth by the guys you drafted with your first overall pick, 2 fifth overall picks. Jalen Duren with the 13th pick, but if you ask Troy Weaver, and he said, I thought Jalen Duren was a top 5 talent. Those are the guys that have to lead this team. And you know what I loved about Cade's return? It's the fit. Yeah. He and Jaden Ivey fit. Jaden Ivey went 7-7 from 3. Shout out to our former Piston, Jeremy Grant, 49 points, man, career high. He went crazy, and guess what? The Pistons were able to weather that storm, and they don't even have the other kind of rotation pieces that they traded for. When you look at what they traded for, Quentin Grimes, a lot of people looked at his stats from this year, but when you look a little bit closer, he was probably in a doghouse a little bit with Coach Tibbs, who's a little bit more difficult on young players. He's a little bit more strict. Last year, Quentin Grimes averaged about 29 minutes a game. This year it's down to 20, which affected his overall scoring. But when you look at what he's going to bring to this team, especially when you talk about what they tried to get out of Killian Hayes, he's a similar height, 6'5", similar weight, 210 pounds, but you're talking about a guy who can hit the three-point ball the last 2 years between 36 and 39% on high volume. Just that alone, before I get into some of the other kind of aspects that Quentin Grimes can bring as a complementary player to your top 4 or 5 or 6 core guys you drafted, that alone right there separates him from a lot of the other kind of the things that they were trying to get out of Killian Hayes, who got waived yesterday. I don't know why I'm so happy about that right now, but he got waived yesterday, man. And he's supposed to be, other teams are looking at him, but we don't care about the players who are no longer here. Quentin Grimes also brings a tenacity on the defensive end from the guard position that I absolutely like. He kind of never turns that part of his game off, and his athleticism. I've been screaming all year, guys, cut. You have dynamic playmakers and dynamic ball handlers in Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey and even Asar Thompson. Get to the basket. These guys will find you. Quentin Grimes does that. And we talked about Simone Fontecchio a little bit as well yesterday. He's another one of those guys. High volume, high percentage three-point shooter. He gets into the lane. He cuts. He plays athletic. He's 6'8", and both of these guys like to defend.
I like that.
Yeah. The other players, they're just rotation level players. You know, when you look at what they had prior in Isaiah Livers, James Wiseman playing extended minutes, the older players probably taking away shots and opportunities from guys like Cade, from guys like Ivy, from guys like Sasser. Now these people have to actually be the focal point. It's no longer like, well, I got to get the ball to Burks. I got to get the ball to Bojan. It's no more that. Now it's Cade. You got the ball. What are you going to do? Ivy, you have the ball. What are you going to do? Ivy, I believe, has a little bit more of that go mentality where he gets the ball and he goes. He just gets to the rim. He wants to score. He's confident in his offensive game. And Cade Cunningham, I believe, is the perfect complementary guard in the backcourt with him because he likes to try and probe. He likes to try and facilitate. He likes to try and set up his teammates, especially early in games. And then late in games, you got two dynamic guards, including Marcus Sasser, if you want to throw a third in there, who can score at a high clip, man, at a very efficient clip. And I think that's what this trade deadline represents. If we were looking for them to make a splash, they didn't make that splash yesterday. But in terms of putting their rookies, their young players in a position to be that splash, that's what that trade deadline spoke to me. And so far, over the last two games, that's who they've continued to basically put at the forefront.
Kool-Aid, I want to dig into this a lot more with you. I want to get your grade. I want you to give me Troy Weaver's grade for this trade deadline when we come back, because I do have some more questions about this trade deadline. You got to clear up more for me. I need more. I love how you broke that down, though. That set the table. But when we get back, I want to hear your grade. First, let me tell you about Planet Fitness because it's home of the judgment-free zone. It's where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. At Planet Fitness, you will experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full-body workout in just 30 minutes, and all memberships include fitness training. You get this all for $10 a month without a commitment. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are over 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands around the world. So check them out, Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Come to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Thank you to all the fans for making Woodward Sports your #1 online destination for Detroit sports. We promise not to drop the ball.
We've just received word. The world's cannabis supply has vanished. The public is outraged and has taken to the streets in response to this tragedy. The individual responsible acted alone, and we can only hope they will make things right soon.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side. Woodward Sports.
What happens when you're in a great business for over 50 years? You expand and you offer more products to more people. That's exactly what Les Stanford did by adding the Les Stanford Buick GMC brand. They still have the same great service that customers have come to know and trust. Located on Woodward Avenue, just south of 9 Mile Road, or you can check out their main location down in Dearborn today. Check them out, LesStanford.com. Les Stanford Chevrolet, together we drive.
What up, though? Detroit, man. Wake up, Woodward. We are
Good
back
morning.
talking about Detroit sports. Now, obviously, two of the bigger headlines yesterday. This trade deadline, which we're going to continue to recap, and Dan Campbell. I believe you got Frank Ragnow is also a pretty big headline as well.
We got some Lions stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, I want to get your guys' opinion. Was Dan Campbell snubbed? Was Ben Johnson snubbed? Laporta got third place in offensive. I kind of like that. We're going to talk more about that. Those are headlines. But Kool-Aid, man, just so you guys know, this is our Pistons beat reporter and beat writer, credentialed beat writer and beat reporter, Detroit Pistons, Detroit Kool-Aid.
I will be, as soon as this show ends, because the Troy Weaver press conference is supposed to start at 10. I'm trying to literally beeline out of here. Hey, shout out to Michigan coach legend John Beeline. But I got to get down there as soon as possible. They usually start these things a little late, so I'm hoping today is not a day that they decide to be on time.
Right.
But I do got a couple questions to ask them. If there's some questions you guys kind of want asked, put them in the chat. Definitely put them in the chat. Like I said, as always, you guys are a big part of this show. Definitely. And the phone line is open. We got a various amount of topics that we're talking about across all of our Detroit sports teams. 313-552-6322. Once again, that is 313-552-6322. But yeah, I'm trying to get down there and talk to Troy Weaver. One of my biggest questions that I want to ask him is, what is his confidence level now? You know, after this trade deadline, what is his confidence level? And not just these young guys that he's drafted, but his confidence level as well as Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey being those dudes.
Yes.
Being those guys, being those stars.
There are so many moving pieces to this, and not many people, including myself, can really keep track. All I care about now moving forward, I don't recognize some of the names, but do they fit together? Can they play together? Can they learn how to play winning basketball? Can they bring out the best in Cade and Jaden Ivey and Ausar Thompson and Jalen Duren? Kool-Aid, you know you're going to ask Troy Weaver what his confidence level is, but what would be your grade? How confident are you in these moves that they just made?
Yeah, in the moves that I just made, I give it a C. That's what I do. It's kind of a middle of the road grade. I believe that they kind of cleared up some log jams a little bit. They got some of these vets and some of these older kind of voices and players out of here who also, when you look at their games, I like what Alec Burks and Bojan can bring on the offensive side of the ball, but I do believe they were taking away from guys opportunities like Marcus Sasser, like Jaden Ivey, like Jalen Duren. But the defensive side is where I believe they got better at this trade deadline. They brought in some guys that play just better defense than the guys that left. 8 players out, 8 players in. That's kind of how this thing went. And like I said before, this trade to me is going to either move up or down based on what the rookies, what the young players, what the guys drafted here to be those guys do with this new opportunity.
And that's kind of what the main thing I took out of it. There was all these moving pieces, but this core is still intact. So whatever these moves were made, we still have Cade and Jaden and Ausar. I should have mentioned Marcus Sasser. He's a huge part of this future, in my opinion. It may be too early to tell, but is there an identity to this team, or did these moves help create an identity, or does that have to come this offseason with the next moves?
No. If you have to wait until the offseason to try to create or start to make an identity for yourself, I think that's a little bit too late. The end of this season has to be about this team playing better. Has to be about finding kind of that chemistry and that rhythm. The identity of this team is going to rest in hard-nosed basketball, hustling, never giving up. Some of the things we've seen, because mind you guys this, over the last 12 games, does anybody want to take a stab at what the Detroit Pistons record actually is over the last 12 games?
Is it 5-7?
It's 5-7. It's 5-7.
Dang.
Think about it. And that's since they traded for Mike Muscala and Gallinari. And they got rid of 2 players who generally weren't necessarily helping them on the defensive side of the ball or at stretching the floor. Mm-hmm. This trade deadline brought in a bevy of those types of players who can stretch the floor at a 36% or higher rate from 3 and can play really pretty decent defense. So now when you look at the fact that this core is now surrounded by, like I said before, you start surrounding these guys like they did prior with Drummond and Stanley Johnson. That just wasn't enough of a young core to surround them with talent or lack thereof, like we just saw the Pistons do at this deadline. Now you're bringing in that similar type of kind of mid-talent, but it's around guys that you expect can carry the burden of the franchise. So I do believe that the identity of this team is always going to rest in that core, working together, finding that chemistry, playing for each other, being for each other, and playing, honestly, hard-nosed, tough defensive basketball that we've seen associated with Detroit Pistons anytime they've been a winner. So
Kool-Aid.
Talk to me, brother.
My dog. I just, I had time to sit on it and pause and just I don't know, man. Does this trade, just the deadline in general, does it not seem like some of these moves were a bit desperate? Now, you didn't get full value for Bogey because you waited too long to trade him. You couldn't trade Killian Hayes, so much so to the point that you had to cut him. You got a lot of young players in here, and when you see all these kind of moves coming in all at once, you kind of think like, okay, they're acquiring assets to make a bigger move. The bigger move never came. And then, you got contract flexibility heading into the offseason, but I just, in a weak free agent market, in a draft where you really don't need to add more young players to this team, I just don't necessarily see the direction or the identity that they're trying to go in, man. And it's some of these moves just absolutely seem desperate to me. What's your thoughts on that, on the whole trade deadline overall, man? Because I feel like they did not get maximum value for a lot of these picks, and a lot of these picks were lateral moves.
Yeah, in my opinion, and I see Mark Royal, he's kind of saying something too. Kool-Aid was just saying how much better the team would be once Bojan came back from injury. Now the Pistons are better that he's traded. What is it? Both can be true. Bojan did make the Pistons a better team. He's a plus player who can shoot from three. But he also has some deficiencies, and he wasn't the same player this year that he was last year. And then you mix in injuries to Cade, mix in injuries to Jalen Duren, mix in injuries to Alec Burks, and it's just not, okay, Bojan's coming back to this healthy team. It was Bojan coming back to a team and carrying probably a burden that he shouldn't have been able to carry. To me personally, the identity of this team, I'm going to continue to say it, it rests in these young players, KG. Yeah. That's just it. If Cade and Ivy and Duren are those guys, if Duren can be that 2020 threat every single night that we see, if Cade Cunningham can continue to be the connector that he was drafted to be, if Jaden Ivey can be a scorer that continues to put pressure on the opposing team's defense, and if, honestly, Isaiah Stewart, as long as he's here, if he can continue to be kind of that Mr. Tough guy for this squad, whether he's starting or coming off the bench, this is what the identity is going to be behind. I don't think that the moves were desperate. I believe it would have been more desperate, even though I was kind of for it, if they would have went and made a move for Levine before the leg injury. If they would have gone out there and kind of, did what they did with Blake Griffin, as Rob Beard called it, Blake Griffin 2.0. That's where I believe they get desperate. I think that move would have helped them, but I also believe it would have capped their ceiling. Right now, you're putting this thing in, and I think it's the right thing to do. You're putting this on the shoulders of your young guys. A large part of this 5-7 stretch over the last 12 games for the Pistons, because it's not just the last 2 games, their last 5 wins, you go back and you look at who's leading this team, and you start to see their identity. It's their belief and their faith and their trust in the process of the young players that they believed initially would lead this team back. Troy Weaver said it in the beginning. I think it was after the draft of Jalen Duren and Jaden Ivey. He stated that these are our guys. These are the players that we want to be able to fit around them. And 7 days before free agency last year, after Asar and Marcus Sasser, he did state again, we want to move forward with our young core, but we want to be able to take a year to assess this team underneath new coach Monty Williams and his system. Clearly, after that assessment, they came away with feeling that this young core was better suited to be able to lead the charge more so than even needing that heavy kind of veteran presence on the team. And so I don't necessarily see it as desperate. I believe that they managed their cap space well. They created some opportunities.
They've been doing that.
Yeah, they've been doing that, yeah. But I tell people this all the time. You can either do things linearly and just pick your one draft pick every single year and then go out there and try as a Detroit team to lure in a free agent, or you can go out there over 3 years, 3 to 4 seasons, and get in more solid draft picks than any other GM in the last, 15, 20, 30 years in Detroit Pistons history. You look back at the previous drafts, I believe that the draft picks that Troy Weaver has brought in, they probably land somewhere in the top 10 easily. Top 10 easily. You think about some of these draft picks, Stanley Johnson, Sekou Doumbouya. The better ones you're going to come away with are going to be Tayshaun Prince and Andre Drummond. Those are the ones that can rival and compare to what Troy Weaver has done in a shorter span, being able to kind of acquire a lot of talent. And that's the thing. These guys still have to develop. They still got to get better. And I believe that we're starting to see them kind of hit their stride a little bit. That 5-7 stretch, I don't believe that that's fool's gold. It was on them. They carried the burden.
We're up against it, but I got a quick question for you to round out this segment. It's from Chuck Brewer, actually. He says, my question is, are these the type of moves, the ones that Troy Weaver has made in the last 2 weeks, are they a sign that Weaver now has the freedom to make the moves he wants heading into this offseason?
Good question.
I hope they do. And I see Mark Royal, he's still going Kool-Aid, just going to praise whatever the Pistons do. I'm not praising whatever they do. I gave this a C, and I said that this thing is going to rest on.
I got your back.
The
Don't worry
players.
Don't worry about that. I got your back.
Yeah.
You give me your opinion. I want your opinion. You can praise them all you want.
and I haven't praised them. It's just a matter of reporting what's going on,
100%.
what their thought process is. But my hope and desire is that Troy Weaver is able to, and I've said this before, sink or swim on your own. Just the same with these young players. Sink or swim on your own. Let these guys have the rock. Let them dribble up the court. Let them score it. Both as it relates to the physical aspect, like the literal aspect of the players, and Troy Weaver. If you brought him in here to be a GM, let his vision be what pushes forward. I don't believe that he should be the one acquiescing necessarily to Monty Williams. I believe that there's growth all the way around. So there's going to be some aspect of what Troy's going to have to learn about Monty. But largely, if these are your players that are here, even if Monty does or does not want to deal with too many young players, you got to find a way to still be a really good coach. You got to find a way to still make sure that the development is here. So overall, I'm hoping that Troy Weaver, if he's going to be fired or if he's going to be extended and stay here for whatever amount of time the Pistons feel necessary, I'm hoping it's on the merit of his own work and not any other cooks in the kitchen.
I like that. I like that. We got some more to talk about when we come back. I think we're going to jump into that Coach of the Year snubbing, that conversation, Assistant Coach of the Year. But first, Flannel, could you tell us about Dispo?
Oh, yes. Go to experience Dispo. It creates an unbelievable atmosphere. The #1 cannabis mall in all of Metro Detroit. We got the one in Romeo. We've got the one in Whitmore Lake, open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Dispo.com, Dispo Shop, same deals. New year, same plug, your local cannabis plug.
Have you ever wondered where all the finest restaurants get their steaks? It's Fairway Packing Company, providing Michigan restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef for over 60 years. But now you can buy these cuts of meat for yourself at the Steak Shop by Fairway Packing Company. Prime porterhouse, A5 Japanese New York strip steak, dry aged Wagyu beef tomahawk. Delicious. Get to the Steak Shop today. Enjoy fine wine, have a private party, and get the finest cuts of meat anywhere. The Steak Shop on Mack Avenue in Grosse Pointe Woods, or order online, fairwaypacking.com.
A ton of fun, a ton of sports, and a ton of man meat. Welcome to the Woodward Heavyweights, live daily 5 to 7 p.m. on Woodward Sports.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime.
Are you tired of wearing the same old Detroit sports merch? It's a new era in sports wearables, new designs, amazing apparel, and the ultimate swag. Check out Woodward Sports' latest gear at woodwardsports.com and click shop. Hoodies, tees, and the hats that are guaranteed to turn heads. Get the latest designs today at woodwardsports.com and click shop.
Welcome back, Detroit, man. It's Wake Up Woodward. And we got to move on to our next segment. You know what? Let's make this appropriate, actually.
Throw
we got
on that
the Lions
Lions
chain. You guys already know what it is, man. We got a couple different Lions topics here. One being Frank Ragnow coming back, and I think the one we got to talk about right now, Dan Campbell. Was he robbed of Coach of the Year, man? And his players sure think so, man. Did you guys see Twitter yesterday?
David Montgomery. How does Coach Campbell not win Coach of the Year? Then quote tweeted by Super Bowl Kirby Joseph. Bro, what? They ain't gave it. Yes, man. They ain't gave it to him? I'm trying to read it small.
Good job, bro.
No, they got deep. This comes after Alex Anzalone's article in the Players Tribune. These guys got Dan Campbell's support. There's definitely an argument for him getting snubbed for the award. To be honest, I'm okay that someone else won it. I would have voted for Dan Campbell to win Coach of the Year. He's my clear winner, but Stefanski and D'Amico Ryans had good years, and they did special things, relatively special things with the teams that they had. The problem I have is the drop-off in voting from second to third. D'Amico Ryans down to Dan Campbell. There was I don't have the number in front of me. It was a significant drop-off in terms of Coach of the Year first-place votes. That's where I'm like, what are these people? Like Dan Campbell.
Yeah.
I know they were favored to win the NFC North. The NFC North was predicted to be one of the worst conferences, the worst divisions in the NFL. Like he did something special with this Lions team. I swear, if this award was open to voting through the entire season, including postseason, you would probably have to give it to Dan Campbell, right?
Yeah, if it included those things. I don't believe he got robbed. I think he had a heck of a season, and I just believe that what happened with the Browns this year, it looked really impressive. Backup quarterbacks, you got the comeback player of the year as well. It seemed like the Browns swept the awards. But I know that this was a hot topic of yours as well during the season, especially when it started to pop up. Flannel, man, what's your thoughts on this, man? Dan Campbell and the whole Coach of the Year race.
All right, so I want to take a little time to praise Kevin Stefanski as well, because I think that they got it right. But both things can be true. I think they got it right with Kevin Stefanski, but I also wouldn't have been mad at all if they would have awarded it to D'Amico Ryans or even Dan Campbell. But Kevin Stefanski, I mean, this was an 11-6 team. This is a team that in the beginning of the year lost their superstar running back Nick Chubb, and then their starting quarterback only played 5 games. And the Cleveland Browns had 3 games which were started by 5th-round rookie Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And as far as quarterback play goes, that went about exactly as you think. And then they also had 3 games in which P.J. Walker started. And again, just going off of quarterback play, those games went exactly about how you would think. But the Cleveland Browns were able to maintain and right the ship during that time. And of course, their season was truly saved at the end when they acquired and started Joe Flacco, who hadn't been a full-time starter in the NFL since 2017. And during that time, Joe Flacco was really, really good at times, but he was also pretty turnover prone. And despite all of that, despite having 11 games started by either Joe Flacco, P.J. Walker, or Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and even if you want to include the last game, which didn't count Jeff Driscoll, the Browns still finished the season on 11-6. They made the playoffs as a wild card team, and the Cleveland Browns were the 10th-ranked scoring offense in the NFL, and Kevin Stefanski is an offensive coach. So to me, Kevin Stefanski deserved the Coach of the Year award. D'Amico Ryans was impressive as well. I mean, leading that turnaround from number 1 overall pick in the draft to division winner and a playoff win, and he's a defensive coach, and the way that the defense was turned around and revamped, led by Will Anderson, Jonathan Grenard, and a huge leap from Derek Stingley Jr. So the reason I wanted to highlight them both, and specifically Kevin Stefanski, is Stefanski won it, but the voting was extremely close. Stefanski only won because of a tiebreaker when it came to first place votes.
Yeah, wow.
So those 2 guys definitely deserved it. Dan Campbell did a hell of a job as well, but I think overall the voting was right.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. And I like the way you put that as well. That realistically, would you be mad if any one of the top 3 candidates had won the award? I think that all of them were very well deserving. The thing, though, that just kind of surprises me is you look at all of the awards before the official NFL one gets handed to Kevin Stefanski, and they all pointed towards Dan Campbell. There were several awards that happened. I forget the names of some of them, but I know the 101 awards had Dan Campbell as the Coach of the Year. Mm-hmm. The AP, I believe, had Dan Campbell as the Coach of the Year. Well, the Players' Choice had Dan Campbell as the Coach of the Year. You had 3 or 4 different awards centered around people who cover the game and people who play the game, who all had Dan Campbell as the Coach of the Year. But the one that all counts had Kevin Stefanski.
And how about this? Eduardo O'Neill actually brought this up to me on Twitter last night. With the voting having closed at the end of the regular season, one of the most recent images that voters and fans had of Dan Campbell was in that Cowboys game. It was in, he kind of blew up. As a Detroit Lions, having a Detroit Lions bias, I like that fire. I mean, of course, he got emotional, and that's a whole different topic of discussion. But that's the last image that they see. Mm-hmm. Do you guys think that could have affected how they voted, having seen that right before they're making this vote?
I said it. Rest in peace to Knights. But, yeah, I remember on Knight saying after that Cowboys game, that probably sank him for Coach of the Year. Just being real. But, I mean, he had a great season in totality. I don't know if the other awards included postseason. That's why maybe Dan Campbell got the edge in the other awards. But, yeah, the Cowboys game pretty much was the deciding factor in that.
Now, how about this? Offensive coordinator, actually is assistant coach of the year. It went to Jim Schwartz of the Cleveland Browns. Second place was Mike McDonald, defensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens, now head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. Ben Johnson came in third on that list. Do you guys have a problem with that? I don't. I don't. I would have liked to see him number one.
You said it was Schwartz, McDonald, and then Johnson. Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, I feel like it's, again, these three, you could interchange them. I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Ben Johnson, to me, was the most electric, the most dominant coordinator with what he did on offense. But it's hard to deny some of the things. That Cleveland Browns team was built off their defense. They got as far as they did because of their defense.
Yeah,
Thoughts?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, based on expectations, a lot of times with what the Lions did this season, that would be enough for them and their coaches to be recognized. But the Cleveland Browns equally matched them as it relates to, or if not exceeded, the expectations placed on them, in my opinion, based on everything that they had to go through. And for those coordinators to kind of scheme their way to the top overall, like their team, I don't know how you can realistically argue. Like, same with Campbell. Obviously, I want to see our guys at the top. And if that Dallas game and his kind of outburst, if that cost him at all, what are we talking about, man? Football is a passionate sport, man.
Yeah.
It's a passionate sport. I would rather see my head coach wear his emotions on his sleeves, especially when we're done wrong. Do you guys know how many times, of course you guys do because we're Lions fans in here, we saw the Lions get done wrong and we said don't stand for it? Yeah. This was one of the first times that I saw our coach, one of our guys, say, you know what, I'm just not going to stand for it. I'm not going to deal with it. Yeah. Our players, they kind of took that persona as well, and they stepped to the podiums. They went in their own individual interviews, and they said, you know what, probably going to get a fine for this, but I don't care. To me, I was proud of it. And if this puts a bigger chip on their shoulder moving forward, that, you know what, people still don't recognize what we are. If this is whatever form of bulletin board material, use it as your motivation that people still aren't respecting your full body of work. Hey, I'm all for it, honestly.
But Kool-Aid, I don't think anybody is using Dan Campbell's, I would say, outburst, or I wouldn't even say it was an outburst at the end of the Cowboys game to disqualify him. I think what they're referring to is the fact that after the 2-point conversion was disallowed and it shouldn't have, that Dan Campbell, after they were pushed back, should have kicked the extra point instead. Because on the subsequent two tries, the first one they missed, but Micah Parsons was offsides, and then the third one they missed again. I think people thought, and I think there's definitely a good argument for it, that because they were pushed back and because the 2-point conversion was made harder, Dan Campbell should have kicked the extra point, and then you go into overtime, and you never know what could happen at that point.
I hear you on that.
Saying that Dan Campbell didn't win this award or get more votes because some people didn't like his somewhat recklessness of coaching at times?
Yeah.
Well, in that specific moment, I think you can definitely make an argument that after the 2-point conversion was disallowed, that they should have kicked the extra point. It's a really, really hard thing to do to try a 2-point conversion from the 7-yard line. It's the percentages go way, way, way down. And I'm not even saying that's why Dan Campbell didn't get more votes. I mean, the reality is
more or less clarifying. I get that.
Well, the reality is Kevin Stefanski and DeMeco Ryans deserved it as
they
well.
Won. They won it.
Yes,
I'm not
and
discrediting them at all.
Like I understand too that maybe you think Dan Campbell didn't get as many votes as you think, and I can listen to that. It was a little shocking that he was that far in third place, but it's just, if you had a little bit of a problem with Dan Campbell not kicking the extra point after the penalty, I can't necessarily fault you for that, because that is bordering on reckless.
Yeah. I just feel like if you do focus in on that and make that some type of point of emphasis, I believe that you're doing a complete disservice to his full body of work. That's just me personally. I thought that Dan Campbell played to his strengths and played to his style all season long, and he put together a very impressive season, one in which they were the only contender to have not lost back-to-back games all season. And you talking about losing your number one cornerback right out the gate, losing CJ, having some injuries at some very, very vital and key places, relying holistically on rookies on both sides of the ball. What are we really, really, really talking about? They had to also utilize a bunch of fill-ins, sign people off the street. They had to keep going and mismatch. We were talking about, hey, they brought in Bruce Irvin, who played and they had to find a way to make sure that he could be successful for the time that he was there. When I look at the full body of work, I'm just hoping that that decision didn't have anything to do in people's minds more so than everything else that I believe he had to overcome this season to get this team to 12-5 and deal with the sting of realistically, whether it's reckless or not. I think the NFL has more egg in their face in that Dallas game than Dan Campbell.
Yeah,
just period.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And Eduardo, he corrected me or confirmed in the chat here. They actually do the voting after Week 17, so it's after that Dallas game.
Of course.
You got to wonder if Dan Campbell, and actually this statement doesn't make sense now, but if Dan Campbell had won that game, forget the decisions and the coaching mistakes. They end up the season 13-4. That looks a little bit different. I mean, a 13-win Detroit Lions team.
I think that could have played a part as well, because when you look at it, that Dallas game was probably the best team we played the whole year. Everybody's eyes was on that game. I think that probably played a part in why they, voted against him in that.
I think
aspect.
it's just easy to be against Detroit. I think it's just an easy thing to do, and that's what I honestly feel. Because if we were a fan of any of these other teams, I think that we would see bad decisions and questionable decisions as well. I do. I just feel like we would see Stefanski made this decision or that decision. But Detroit was one of those teams that no matter what national network you looked at, none of them. You saw everybody talking about them. Whether they were doing good, then all of a sudden everybody will say, yo, the Detroit Lions are top 5. And then when they're bad, I'm never putting them on my top 5 again.
That's true.
That's what they were all season with all eyes on them. I think some of these other coaches might have benefited from the fact that people weren't as scrutinizing of what they had, one way or the other this season.
You got a good point. Let's continue this conversation when we get back. I know Flannel has a response to that, Kool-Aid. Before we get there, Kool-Aid, can you tell us about Guardian Alarm?
I can, man. Just how I am defending Dan Campbell and these Detroit Lions, Guardian Alarm can defend you too. It's a new year. Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts. Our professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. 24/7 professional monitoring. Call us anytime, day or night, and know that a Guardian team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. Technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology that's been proven to work, and people have been proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT. Hey, Dan Campbell, hate 1-800-STAY-OUT.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year's sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
For over 60 years, Fairway Pack & Co. has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks or order online at fairwaypacking.com.
Big beef.
We back. Wake up, Woodward. Thanks for joining us this morning. We appreciate you guys for all tuning in, guys and gals. If you could hit that like button, if you could subscribe, that all helps us out. We really, really appreciate it. We were talking Dan Campbell snubbing. We were talking these NFL awards from last night. And Kool-Aid was talking about the national narrative, some of the national expectations that may have been holding Dan Campbell back from winning this award. Flannel, you have some thoughts about that. Do you agree with what he's saying? Do you disagree with some? I feel like you got something to say.
Well, Kool-Aid, unfortunately, I just don't think you could help yourself.
Wait, hold on. Can I put my eye black on first?
Yes. All right. You can put your eye black on. I thought we were having a really good conversation, and you can certainly make an argument that Dan Campbell, in terms of his seeding, in terms of his lack of maybe second and first place votes, got disrespected a tad. but you just had to bring up the whole everybody hates Detroit, Detroit versus everybody. It's become almost like this catchphrase that I don't think holds as much relevance when it comes to this conversation. So you're telling me that people in the NFL and everybody has a pro Cleveland Browns bias? Are you telling me that there's a pro Houston Texans bias, a team that had 3 wins the previous season? I think that also leads to the conversation of when you're going for NFL Coach of the Year, which is an extremely prestigious award that only one coach out of 32 wins it every single year. You have to nitpick in a couple of situations, and you have to appreciate what Cleveland did and what Houston did. What Houston did in particular is, again, it's about the turnaround. It's about going from number 1 overall pick in the draft to a division champ and a playoff win. I know the playoff win is irrelevant, but I'll just to this award, but I'll just go with a division championship, and with the defense being revamped, with DeMeco Ryans making smart personnel decisions when it comes to offensive coordinator, which allowed a guy like CJ Stroud to develop so greatly, and Nico Collins and Tank Dell, and on and on and on. And then when you look at Cleveland, it was the fact that here's something that was discussed on this network a lot. And Broder, I know you remember, JB, I know you remember, Kool-Aid, I know you remember, is that if your starting quarterback goes down, and we used it when we talked about Jared Goff discussions, you're effed, your season's over, pack it up, you're not going anywhere. But Cleveland did not do that. They used 3 different quarterbacks, including 6 games that were started by P.J. Walker and Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and 5 more that were started by what we thought was the corpse of Joe Flacco, and they made the playoffs.
Playoffs?
When it comes to the Detroit Lions, Dan Campbell did a phenomenal job. I want him as the coach of the Lions for the foreseeable future. He might be the guy that leads the Lions to the promised land and gets the biggest statue that the city of Detroit has ever seen. But the reality is that the Lions were expected to win the division, and they did just that. Was it still impressive? Absolutely. I just think with what Kevin Stefanski did and what DeMeco Ryans did, you can definitely say are objectively more impressive, and they had harder jobs.
I'm not trying to disrespect those coaches or those teams or their accomplishments, not at all. I was more or less responding to what was kind of stated about Dan Campbell in that Dallas game. And if we're going to kind of scrutinize that, I believe that there was so much more that Dan Campbell did better that outweighs the things that you could potentially scrutinize to drop him that far in the voting. That's what this is about. And yes, it was. I'm on socials. Our job is to keep up with all of the narratives going on with Detroit Lions. And I'm telling you, some of our biggest posts, day after day after day after day during the season, was people taking their time to hate on Dan Campbell. This is not a shot at Cleveland or Houston, but I know that they weren't getting that all season long. It was just praise for them. Whether they won, whether they lost, whether they went on losing streaks, which the Detroit Lions never did. Never did. The Detroit Lions dealt with their injuries. We were not expecting even the Packers to be as good as they are. So whatever the preseason expectations were, the season played out in a way where the Detroit Lions were not whole, and they still busted tail.
Yeah.
The division wound up being much better than any of us expected and almost got 3 teams in. The only reason why they didn't get 3 teams in is because the Lions swept the Vikings. Mm-hmm. That's the reality. Dan Campbell went out there and handled business and stood on top of it with the rest of his team, and they had to deal with what? One of the worst defensive backfields out there? That's what I'm talking about. If we're going to realistically sit here and talk about this narrative that could go against Dan Campbell, I just believe that there are far better things that he proved and that he overcame, because some of this stuff I didn't know what they were going to do. I didn't know what, man, you lost Emmanuel Mosley and CJ GJ, your 2 kind of high price picks in free agency. You lost those guys right out the gate. Right out the gate.
Yeah.
A lot of us didn't know what they were going to do. They didn't get the defensive line help. You lose James Houston. What are we talking about? One of your top sack leaders from a year ago who really helped Aiden Hutchinson. That's what I'm talking about. I don't think that there's enough placed on what Dan Campbell actually did and what these Lions had to overcome. That's what I'm saying. To the point that when you look at the final year voting, you realize if all they were doing was scrutinizing him, then it's still the same old tired Detroit versus everybody. That's what I'm talking about. So from all the national shows that want to ride high and dive low based on where the Lions are, That's what I'm talking about. It's not a shot at Cleveland. It's not a shot at what Houston did this year. Not at all. I respect those guys. I started off the segment saying, you know what? I'm not against it. We went into the offensive coach of the year race and said, you know what? I'm not against it. We'll live with it, but I do hope that they use this as some form of bulletin board material. I do. But in terms of scrutinizing Dan Campbell for what Dan Campbell didn't get right, I don't think that should weigh anywhere on the scale compared to what Dan Campbell overcame as a head coach this year with the Detroit Lions.
Oh, sure. The positives most certainly outweigh the negatives. That is, we would all agree with that. If that wasn't the case, they wouldn't be 12-5. And I always gave Dan Campbell a ton of credit this year of how he was able to galvanize the team when at times throughout the year, and with certain players it was the whole year, the Lions did have some injury issues, although in key positions they were relatively healthy, which was a very nice blessing as well. But yeah, Dan Campbell, phenomenal coach. I want him as the Lions coach for many, many years to come, and I don't want anybody thinking that I'm taking shots at him or anything like that.
I got you. You're not taking any shots. You're just explaining why Stefanski or Ryan should win this season, this 12-month season. Yes,
and also I'm just throwing this out there as well. When you do some unconventional things, which Dan Campbell does, he goes for it more than anybody, and in certain situations, it definitely backfired on him, whether it was the right call or not. It definitely backfired on him, and you can't argue that when it came to certain situations. I think that's easy to criticize, and I also think that the Dallas thing happened on national TV on what should have been Monday Night Football, but because of the scheduling conflict, it was Saturday Night Football. That is where everybody is watching in Dallas, and I do agree that the decisions to not kick the extra point, I think, were still the wrong ones, and that maybe the spotlight was on him at that point. The spotlight was never really on Cleveland and Houston to that level in that game as much as it was on the Lions in that game.
Well, the Lions played on national TV more than a lot of these other teams. And if we're going to take the full body of work from just all eyes being on them, the Lions smashed this year. They smashed.
Absolutely.
But that's my thing. So now we're going to elevate this kind of one moment, this one game, in which reality, the two things we're going to penalize them on were two plays that should have never even happened because they literally won the game. Yeah, they literally won the game. I believe that, if there was time to do that over, me personally, kick the field goal. And I've said it on some of the other shows as well, kick the field goal. But I'm not Dan Campbell either. I don't think that I would have got them to 12-5 with my decisions over the full course of that year as well. And that's my thing. If we're going to sit here and talk about, well, all eyes were on them with this Dallas game, there were many times when all eyes were on them, just like the first game of the season, right?
Just like KG's shirt.
Let me see that, man. Let me see that shirt, bro.
Can you see it?
Tupac.
Oh yeah, you can't really see it.
Tilt the camera
there
down.
You go. There you go. All eyes on me.
Yeah. I think you're both are right. I think we're arguing, but I think you're both right. The Lions, Dan Campbell, he had a great season. Again, I told you he'd be my pick for Coach of the Year. But looking at especially with just the Dallas loss, forget the decisions made. The Lions met expectations. They didn't exceed mine. They met them. Maybe there's a little wiggle room there where they played a little better than a lot of people thought, but they met the expectations. And unfortunately, this award is just for this 2023 season. If you're taking the last 2 years, there's no question it goes to Dan Campbell without even thinking about it. He probably gets 100% of the votes, but because of just how things played out and the success that both Stefanski and D'Amico Ryans had in their individual situations and those stories, that's how it played out.
Yeah, that's how it plays. And I'm okay with the results. I'm very fine with that. And for me personally, did they meet the expectations in terms of what we thought was going to happen at the beginning of the season? If we just look at the raw numbers at 12-5 or 11 wins, sure. But that was also with me believing that Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamo would have a much bigger impact to start the season than they did. It also was with me believing that they were going to have their full complement of players. Obviously, injuries happened throughout the year, but I didn't think that they were going to get decimated the way that they did so early in the season, losing probably 3 of your top defensive players in James Houston, or the ones you thought were going to be the ones to get you to 11 or 12 wins in James Houston, Emmanuel Mosley, CJ, GJ. Yeah. I just didn't expect that personally. It's a situation where if I knew everything that was going to happen, and we didn't know how the season played out, but we knew the injuries that were going to be there, my expectations would not have been 11 or 12 wins, personally. And so for Dan Campbell to go out there and still get this team there, and I think it's a major accomplishment to have no back-to-back losses on your season. And with the way a lot of people try to kind of, ding Jared Goff as a quarterback, to do that with him as your QB1. I just think that those are accomplishments worth a little bit more than what he got in that coaching
100%. And just to play a slight devil's advocate on Flannel's side, if David Blau was thrust into starting time for the majority of the season, and they ended up with a 12-5 record, Dan Campbell would win.
Definitely,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
absolutely. My goodness, it'd be a miracle. It'd be a miracle. But to my point, the fact that the Browns were able to right the ship with Joe Flacco, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and P.J. Walker was also a miracle. We can't.
That's true.
I know that
that's true.
The David Blau thing would absolutely be a miracle, but it didn't happen. Kevin Stefanski helped execute an actual miracle that happened.
Facts.
Yes.
Facts. Yeah. Fortunately, too, the Lions have a guy named Frank Ragnow at center who is rumored to be contemplating retirement, contemplating what he's thinking for the future. We'll get into this just a little bit more when we get back. But Frank Ragnow is back. He's coming back to the Detroit Lions. Dispelled all the rumors that he will be retiring. He's back and he's ready to go. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get back. But Kool-Aid, actually, you know what? I'm going to tell you, that's a big boy on the screen. That is a big boy on the screen, and that's what I'm going to tell you about. Because wintertime in Detroit is always better with comfort foods from Big Boy. You can try the veal parmigiana or the chicken or the Southern Comfort chicken bowl, or if you want some breakfast, the stuffed potato pancakes are back. They got the classic, the lumberjack, or the Santa Fe Garde.
Ooh.
Also, new apple pie hotcakes that are too good to miss. If you want something sweet at the end of your breakfast, top it all off with a gingerbread shake for dessert. That sounds so good to me. Stop by your local Big Boy today.
Santa Fe Garde.
Savor the heart of home at Big Boy with our all-new down-home comfort dishes. Feast on home-style goodness with our Southern Comfort Chicken Bowl, veal parmigiana, and apple pie hotcakes. The down-home delight doesn't stop there. Potato pancakes are back. Dive into the richness of our perfectly crafted potatoes with our classic potato pancakes and our stuffed potato pancakes. Top off your meal with our new gingerbread shake, a seamless blend of creamy vanilla and sweet gingerbread flavors. Nothing beats the comforting taste of down-home cooking. Enjoy every bite, only at Big Boy.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles, and with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
Have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper. Tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Rest in peace to the same old Lions, the ones that never made it to the NFC North Championship, excuse me. RIP to them. No RIP to Jack Labrador. They're coming back with a twist on that same old rock, paper, scissors game that we have come to learn to love. Jack Labrador has revolutionized that entire game with 2 new symbols and a franchise-changing 3-point play. Discover the action at jacklabrador.gg now and find out why. Once you go Jack, you never go back.
What up, though? Detroit, man, it's time to wake up. Woodward, and we're talking about Frank Ragnow.
He back.
He said, I ain't going anywhere. He's back, man.
This is huge.
He's back. He announced it via Twitter, I believe?
Yeah, I think so. I saw it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Frank Ragnow, center out of Arkansas. You all learned how tough he was. We all learned how tough he was at the end of this season, dealing with all the injuries that he had all season long. The question was, can his body keep up for a couple more years, for 1 more year? His contract goes until 2026. Frank Ragnow announced that he is back, and that is such a massive, not addition, a confirmation, such a massive piece to this offensive line. Penei Sewell's incredible. Taylor Decker is a stalwart for them. He's been on this team since not the glory days, since the tough days, since those SOL days. He's still there, but Frank Ragnow, he is what makes this engine run. He has such a good relationship with Jared Goff. In times like in the San Francisco game, there are things that he can do to elevate this offense in terms of preparing, calling out blitzes, calling out schemes. Frank Ragnow is a huge addition. Flannel, I want to come to you first.
Yeah.
I don't mean to actually say this directly, how do you quantify, like, how the importance of Frank Ragnow, how important is he to this team?
Well, the best way that you can quantify any player in the NFL, he is the best player at his position. And he's ours, and he's back. And I understand that with Frank Ragnow, there's always going to be some concern moving forward with his health, as of right now, with his toe in particular, how he recovers from those injuries that he suffered in the Bucs game, which they shouldn't be too long-term, but you never know how many, with the ones he's already had, are going to wear on him, especially given the position that he plays. But Frank Ragnow, all season long this past year, he's already had a great career, but he just had the best season of his life. And he was so important to this offense, the run game, the pass game. You've seen his statistics when it comes to only allowing 18 pressures this season and 1 sack from the center position. And oh, by the way, his actual strength was, by the numbers this past year, was run blocking, in which he was the #1 run blocking rated center in the NFL according to PFF, and the #1 overall rated center in the NFL according to PFF. And the offensive line, this Lions offensive line, is the best in the league. It's their best unit. So Frank Ragnow being back will be one of the keys into the Lions making a Super Bowl run. Yes. I'm not saying they for sure will. I'm just saying without him, I would have some questions. Yes. With him,
that's fair.
Offensive line, no questions.
That's fair. And Michael in the chat, man, he's kind of this is my inner thought as well. The team is hungry for a championship. They are on a mission. And I do wonder how much, this team being this close, not just where they were last season, but their aspirations to get back. People locking in to say, you know what, we're going to get back. The whole kind of just feeling of this team overall, after dropping that game in San Francisco in the second half and knowing, you know what, we're good enough to be here. We belong at this spot. I do wonder how much that played into Frank Ragnow, who has dealt with some injuries, knowing that his body every season is going to continue to come under duress. How much that, the Lions being at a Super Bowl level worthiness, is playing into his decision to get back.
100%. He's going to be watching this game, too. Frank Ragnow is one of those guys that Dan Campbell talked to this last week, said, hey, embrace it, feel it, picture yourself getting back there. So I want to pose this question to you guys around the room, but I want to open up the phone lines for you all to answer this as well. Actually, I'm going to give you 2 questions. Will the Detroit Lions be in this Super Bowl game next year? And also, we got a coaching matchup between Andy Reid and Kyle Shanahan. Is Dan Campbell in an elite tier of coaches, or is he still sitting, I'll take one out of Jim Harbaugh's book, is he still sitting at the kids' table? What does it take for him to get up to the adults' table? So answer that question. Will the Lions be back? Will the Lions be in the Super Bowl next year? And what's your thoughts on Dan Campbell in an elite tier of coach? What do you guys feel? I want to hear your thoughts on the coaching matchup first. We got a legend growing in Andy Reid. He doesn't get enough support for what he's done as a head coach throughout his career. And you got Kyle Shanahan, up and coming, finally got over the hump of making it past the NFC Championship game. A brilliant mind, a ton of respect around the league. I think many people think those two are an elite tier of coach. Is Dan Campbell there yet, Kool-Aid?
I feel like Dan Campbell is on his way, but I believe accolades and longevity as it relates to what your team continues to do. Can you follow up the year you just had? Can you string together, like Brad Holmes did say, we're set up for longevity. We're set up to have success for a very long time here. But I do believe that Dan Campbell has to prove that. Every year underneath Dan Campbell, they have improved, but this was just the first year that they made the playoffs. If they come back next year, they come back a year after that, and Dan Campbell continues to be one of the prime reasons, from a coaching voice, from his philosophy, from his identity being imprinted on this team, then I do believe you can say safely that he is in that elite tier of coaches. Now, in terms of just what we know him to be, like if I want to give you just my kind of Kool-Aid slappy bias take, when you do see a coach, when you do see a team respond as well as they did to Coach Campbell, I think that that's a great sign that that coach is having an elite effect on his team. So I definitely will say that. But in terms of comparing him to the tops of this game, like Andy Reid, who's had success for a very, very long time and proven it year after year after year, that it's not just a fluke, that he just didn't kind of have the stroke of luck, or his division might have been down, or some of the narratives that kind of go against. I just believe that Dan Campbell has a little bit more to go in terms of stringing it together so we can tag him with that elite status.
Flannel, is Dan Campbell sitting at the kids' table for the Super Bowl this year?
Kids' table is disrespectful.
Yeah.
When it comes to Dan Campbell, he's an interesting evaluation because when you talk about coaches who are no doubt above him right now. You talk Andy Reid, you talk Kyle Shanahan, you talk Sean McVay, you talk John Harbaugh, and obviously you got to include a Mike Tomlin because of what he's accomplished. But although if I'm moving forward, I'd rather have Dan Campbell, by the way. But then you have interesting cases like Doug Peterson obviously has a Super Bowl win as a head coach. He has a bigger resume and more of a sample size, but I'd rather have Dan Campbell moving forward. Same with a guy like Zach Taylor of the Cincinnati Bengals, for example. He helped the Cincinnati Bengals get to a Super Bowl, get to the AFC Championship game after that, and lose a close one. But moving forward, I would rather have Dan Campbell. So I guess I agree with you, Kool-Aid, that he needs to validate what he did this past year and then continue to keep the Lions successful. And then you will start to be mentioning him as one of the top tier coaches. But right now, he's closer to the top of the list than maybe you would think. What he's been able to do with the Lions, especially since year one up to now, phenomenal. I mean, Dan Campbell's the man. It's just he needs a little bit more of a body of work. That's all. That's the only thing he's missing.
Yep.
I'm with you, KG. You agree with that?
Spot on, Sam.
Yeah, I think he's one step below the elite coaches.
Cool.
And, he gives you everything you want from a player relations standpoint. The team morale, he's very good at handling that. I also think he puts his coordinators in the best positions that he can. But the I don't want to say recklessness, but the aggressiveness, he does have to work on that still, to me. Not saying that he should stop being aggressive and stop being who he is, but at the same time, I think just he needs better decision making in those real tough moments, man. Once he gets that, I don't see why you don't put him in the elite of NFL coaches.
Yeah, and you know what? I appreciate that Dan Campbell is generally true to himself, but I do kind of agree with Kenny on this thing, to see if these players the coaches continue the trend of we're not going to be stubborn and stuck in our ways, to see if they go out there this summer, get a kicker that they can trust in, hopefully, and see if that starts to influence a little bit more of what Dan Campbell does in some of these fourth down moments. I still want him to be largely aggressive, but in the times and in the big moments and kind of reading the moments, reading the room, maybe the Dallas game. Obviously the two games that are going to come to mind are Dallas and then the NFC Championship game, where those moments were so big that sometimes points are at a premium. And we saw in that second half for the Lions, points were at a premium against the San Francisco 49ers, and against Dallas, that game ended 2019, 21-20 in my book, still asterisk. Right. But we all thought that this was going to be something that was going to be a high-scoring affair. Yeah. In those games, especially against those teams where you absolutely have to have that W, I kind of want to see him play a little bit more traditional in those moments. Right. So I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and in those games, when you look at it, he had multiple chances to kind of overturn, his decision or make the right call, or what I believe to be the right call in those situations. He had multiple chances in both of those games, and it's crazy when you look at the Dallas game. It's kind of foreshadowing for what happened in the NFC Championship game when you look at it. So, if he can just improve that just a little bit, just tweak it a little bit, I think we'll be in a very great position.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to Dan Campbell, at least the discussion right now, it's always going to be, and I know I'm paraphrasing from things that I've heard on other networks, and this one does he got to rein in a little bit of the whole Dan Gamble thing, or is that something that's always going to be a part of him? It did work a lot more often than you would think at points this year, but I would argue that in the NFC Championship game, he made one particular fourth down call. I know we don't need to rehash this over and over again. I don't want to, but at the same time, I didn't agree with the one on 4th and 2 that Josh Reynolds ultimately dropped. I'm not going to criticize him or anything like that, but while we're talking about Dan Campbell, that is still part of his story right now. And we'll just see moving forward as he maybe trusts his defense and his kicking game a little bit more, whether he's still as much Dan Gamble or whether he evolves and there's an arc where he's a little bit more conservative. We shall see.
But I also think that's a little bit of something that I like about him as well, too, that he does take those risks. He's not just your traditional player coach now. He coaches with his heart on his sleeve. He actually coaches with his heart and believes in these fourth downs that he's doing because he believes in the players. And I think that's probably what sets him apart a little bit. And obviously he's not in the elite status just yet, but he's getting there. He's so close to being an elite coach status. but he's also learning on the job as well too, knowing that, hey, maybe I shouldn't have gambled on that one. Maybe I didn't have enough faith in that player that I did when I called up that play. But still, at the same time, he's going out there and he's trying it. He's risking it all, trying to get that win. And he's just different. And I like that. Be different than your normal, traditional NFL coach.
I'm with you. Sometimes, and I understand, Campbell, when you're stubborn about certain things, sometimes it's hard to learn and move on from them. Yeah. Like for me, when I'm watching the Super Bowl, I got to go traditional wings with buffalo sauce. I'm not a boneless wings guy, and I really want to hear.
You got to do the boneless wings.
No, see, I feel more like a man when you're eating the traditional wing.
I feel you. Are you
know
a
what I'm saying?
flats or a drums guy?
Yeah, right. And I'm not judging anyone who likes boneless, but you got to go traditional, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you guys each what you prefer, some of your Super Bowl traditions, maybe of years past when we get back. But Kool-Aid, could you tell us about Swiss Insurance?
I can. Hey, look, man, with the Super Bowl right around the corner, I know that you have football on the brain, man. It's also a perfect time to shop, though, your home and auto insurance. Shop it like a pro with Swiss Insurance. They cover Woodward Sports Network, and they should be covering you, too. Ask for Mark at Swiss Insurance today at swissins.com or call 248-800-4177. Again, that's 248-800-4177.
Hi, my diamonds. It's Crystal with an X. You want to get hot and perfect like me? Here's my super easy routine. Drink at least a gallon of water before you wake up. Attach a weight to everything in your house. Hello. Sell your car and just sprint everywhere. Scream when you exhale.
Don't follow Crystal with an X. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join now for just $10 a month and cancel anytime.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Stop searching for a vehicle and start finding one. Les Stanford Chevrolet Cadillac makes it easy. We harness the power of multiple dealerships and own the biggest selection of GM brands in the area to get you the car you need. With the Les Stanford Group, you'll have access to 4 different dealerships, providing you with more makes, more models, and more choices. We're connected to more than 1,000 vehicles, and with so many high-quality CPO vehicles available, you'll find new car quality at pre-owned prices. You can start and end your search at lesstanford.com today.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Come to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
What up, dog? Detroit, man. Let's wake up, Woodward. You guys out there, too, we're going to get some content in. Just kind of fraternize with the people a little bit. That might be the game.
Any chance to support DMAC and LCA? Yup.
Yeah.
Count me in. Tammy, thanks for that shout out.
And a winning product.
Right.
Definitely.
They're trending. This is playoff time. They're chasing. And I think they're in 5th place right now in the Atlantic Conference. I believe would be in the playoffs if it ended today. Don't quote me on that. But they're chasing a playoff berth. That's what people want to see. Get those Red Wings back in the playoffs. Get this place back to Hockey Town.
Definitely. But you had a question for us, didn't you, brother?
Yeah, and we actually had a little miscommunication before because KG was asking me something about wings. But I want to ask you all, you traditional wings or you boneless wings? If you're traditional, and this is where we're going to get into it, are you drums or are you flats? What's your Super Bowl wing of choice? Or if you're not...
All of the above, bro.
Yeah.
All of the above. I'm taking the drums, the flats, the boneless wings, all the above, and I'm just smashing, really.
All right.
That's how it's going down.
All right, so you have no preference.
No preference.
I know. I misheard what you said. I thought you said you prefer drums and flats, but actually, you're a boneless guy?
I am a boneless guy, but if I have to do traditional, it has to be drums. Listen, flats are whack, okay? Very little
come on.
They taste great, but very little meat, a lot of work. I don't like to work for my food, man. I like to dig in, get right to it. Hey, so you gotta have the drums, man, minus the gristle.
JB, rebuttal. It sounds like you were very disappointed in KG over there.
Yeah, how dare you? You just discredited the flats right there. Come on.
I don't even know what to say to that.
I just don't get it. Like, I know drums are cool and all, but still, as well,
what's the
flats,
appeal about flats?
There's more sauce on there.
I I guess,
you got
man.
more meat on the bone. Like, come on.
It's less meat on the bone, man. Way more work, man. I don't like a greasy face when I eat. I'm a grown ass man. So like, I don't know, man. Drums just do it for me.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I prefer boneless altogether if I'm going to choose one. But yeah, if I got to go with the bone in, it's got to be the flats. I mean,
I feel you. Well, at least we can agree on the boneless part.
Yeah, we can agree on the boneless wing. But come on,
Flannel. Flannel, what's your opinion on the matter?
I feel like me and Flannel are gonna get into an argument about this somehow. No,
Don't do it.
One thing that you'll know about me is I don't die on hills about like wing choices. We're all grown. We all can have whatever we want.
What?
No,
man.
I know, right? Crazy concept right here.
We'll take a five.
I am going to go with I like boneless the best personally, and I actually KG. I kind of agree with you when it comes to flats. And my problem is that if you're eating flat wings, you're guaranteed to ugly eat. And I definitely am. It means that if I'm going out to dinner, even if it's with my wife, even though we've been married for over a year and we've been together for over 5, I don't want to just like stuff my face and pick at bones like in front of her or in front of other public as well. I just want to have something that's easier. Flats are hard work, man. I'm so glad that you brought that up because flats just get all of this love and this adoration, and I think they're highly overrated.
Thank you.
But that's the point. Like to just dive in like a caveman. That's the whole point of the whole flats.
Yeah, like a lion or something, man. Just going to task, man.
Let's have some civility, man. It's 2024, man. Stop with the goddamn flats, man. It's over for the flats.
Some civility.
Overrated versus underrated.
Eat chicken like a damn pilgrim.
All right, but tell me this though: buffalo sauce or barbecue sauce?
Oh, barbecue all day.
Barbecue all day.
Yes.
Oh,
no,
come on. Sit down. Now this is gonna be an argument now.
No, don't get me wrong. I love buffalo sauce, but barbecue is classic. You can never go wrong with a barbecue wing, man. Like it was made for chicken, man. I don't.
Here he go telling me which wing is the more manly one.
It's his preference.
And he can't handle the spice.
I eat spicy all day long. You can ask anybody that know me. I'm a spice fiend, but. I don't know. I'm
at least
classic.
spicy
I'm a
barbecue then, right?
You said what?
At least spicy barbecue then.
Oh yeah.
All right, there we go.
All day.
That was buffalo sauce all day. The spicier the better, baby.
Let's
spicier the better.
Let's go.
It's got to be buffalo. You know, that's my opinion. I'm a buffalo wing guy. You go out and get wings now. There are 100 different flavors you can choose from. I just go au naturel, traditional.
Yeah, I go into some of these wing spots now, and I'm just like, this is just too much, man. Like my main choices are buffalo, barbecue, and if they got Parmesan garlic. But I gotta be real with y'all. The best wings in town, Bugsy Bar, man.
Bugsy Bar.
I
gotta check that out.
I love them, man. I love them. I don't even mean to like advertise. I'm just saying like smoked wings, smoked and grilled wings. Come on, bro.
Yes,
come on. You can't go wrong with
that. We got a couple callers on the line. Keep calling in and let us know what your wing preference is, what your wing sauce preference is. But KG, sounds like we got Eduardo on the line.
Yes, we do. The homie Eduardo. Welcome to Wake Up Woodward, my G.
Eduardo, what's good?
What up, though?
Happy morning. Good morning, my guy.
Good morning, guys. So listen, when I go and get wings, I tell them I need the hottest flavor you have.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, I'm a hot sauce kind of guy. Always will be. I love my boneless wings. But yeah, I'll be putting the hot sauce, like as hot as you can get. But to backtrack off of Dan, I'm gonna be honest with you. I never thought I'd say this day. But Sam, I finally agree with you on something.
Hey,
let's go.
Back-to-back days where you've had your takes where I'm like, damn, I can actually agree with this. Dan needs to do a better job of reading the room, in my opinion. So this is my thing, right? The Bills game and the Seattle game, he played for overtime. Do we think that's maybe factoring into his decisions as we played for overtime in those two games and we didn't end up winning?
It's a fantastic question.
Sudden, we're not playing for overtime anymore. Dallas and I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, if you want to go for it on 4th and 2, week 8, you know what I mean, against whoever, that's one thing.
Right.
But we got a trip to the Super Bowl on the line. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I watched the game with my sister because the Lions were undefeated when I attended the game with my sister. So I literally made her skip class so that she could come and watch the game with me in San Francisco. And the minute we went for it on fourth down, I literally go to her. I'm like, even if we don't get this, I still feel bad about it. And I'm like, bro, like, you have to take the point. So I just hope that, look, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword, and I get that. But we have to learn to read the room. It's just, that's my whole opinion on it is. And the media, one last thing on the media.
Yes, real quick.
They will always give him, coaches like him, Brandon Staley, the aggressive coaches, they will always give him heat, no matter if it succeeds or fails. Even after the fake punt in Kansas City, the national media was still giving him flack for it, even though it worked. So, you know what I mean? No matter how, unless he all of a sudden turns into Kyle Shanahan being conservative, he's not. But anyway, thank you for taking my call. I hope you guys have a good morning. And I'm sorry, brother, but you and no mayonnaise, I can't stand on that.
My guy, Eduardo, thanks so much for calling.
Have a good day.
We appreciate you, and I'm going to rephrase his questions here, but I just saw a comment from Lone Spoon 77 in the chat. It said, boneless wings are just chicken nuggets. Call them chicken nuggets. No, you guys don't get to rebuttal. I'm just kidding. That's what I couldn't have described it better.
Chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets with some sauce
go
on
and
it.
have a real boneless wing and go and get some McDonald's chicken nuggets, man. There is a difference to me.
Big
personally.
difference.
There's a big difference.
Big difference. But from what Eduardo was saying about Dan Campbell, is it a case of reading the room? Do you think that the Seattle and the Dallas calls, actually not the Dallas, the Seattle call playing for overtime, or no, was it Seattle? Was he not playing for overtime?
No, Seattle
did go to overtime.
He was playing for overtime. Did that affect? That was in his head when he was making some of these calls later in the season.
I said that all year, man.
Yeah.
I did. What you think, man?
Yeah, no, I agree with Eduardo completely, man. Like, in a Week 17 game against the Cowboys, I can understand why you wouldn't want to play for overtime there. It's been a long, tough game. You're prepping for a playoff stretch. You know, you want to get your players out of there clean and as healthy as you can get them out. But in an NFC Championship game, I think you just have to have a little more wherewithal of the situation. That's all. But I totally agree that Seattle game may have influenced his decision a little bit as the season went on, as to, you know, him being aggressive and wanting to go for the win all the time.
Definitely. Do we have another caller?
No, he hung up.
He hung up. So, cool. Do you have an opinion on Dan Campbell on that call? I think you were about to say something. Otherwise, I'll pass it over to Flannel.
Oh no, it was just. I believe that as just kind of humans, kind of when we go against the grain of what we normally do, I do believe that plays some type of role in how you move forward next time. The numbers, to me personally, don't play for the if that's who you are in the Seattle game, then continue to push forward. Don't play for the overtime, and then they wound up losing that game. So we all know that just kicking the field goals does not guarantee you to win, and I do believe that had to be in the back of his mind. Whether it's the right call or not, I still personally, in the championship game and against Dallas, would have kicked the field goal. I personally, I like the coolness he had to go for the first 2-point conversion, but I still would have kicked the field goal personally. Just me personally. But from his kind of standpoint, from his point of view, I could see what probably was going on in his mind, man, after that Seattle game.
Got you, Flynn. I want to give you a chance to respond to Eduardo. Everyone, please call in. The number is 313-552-6322. Is Dan Campbell in an elite tier of coach, or is he at the kids' table still for one more year? Do you expect the Lions to be in this game, in the Super Bowl next year? Let's hear your thoughts. Boneless or traditional wings? Or I should say, traditional or chicken nuggets? Let us know. But Flannel, what do you have to say about what Eduardo just called in?
Well, the thing we noticed about Dan Campbell this year was that he definitely learned some things. He definitely, I would say, his aggression was a little bit, I would say, smarter and more controlled. Because you look at some of the games in his first couple of years, and I don't want to rehash them all because he's obviously gotten over a lot of those demons. He had some issues with clock management and maybe some decisions, whether he was too aggressive or not even aggressive enough, even in some of them, like the Minnesota game at Minnesota to start 2022, going for that field goal, for example. But that's the only one I'll give. I think this year in Seattle, not kind of playing it conservative and not trying to get the game-winning touchdown, I thought that was a mistake the way that they played it. Because remember when Alex Anzalone got that sack? I thought, oh my goodness, the Lions are going to get great field position. They're going to go down and they're going to win the game. But unfortunately, they just ended up tying. So I think that was the one of the few decisions this year that I thought wasn't right. And yeah, I think maybe that did play a role into Dan Campbell being more aggressive moving forward. And for the record, I don't even mind the original call to go for 2 after the touchdown against the Dallas Cowboys, and it worked.
Yeah.
And it should have been allowed to stand. It's just when it was stolen from you, and you do have a much tougher 2-point conversion, statistically a miles difference tougher. That's where you kick the extra point. But I don't mind his aggressiveness initially. I just think it was more reckless later. But I do think he's still wrestling a little bit with when to be aggressive and when not to be. But I think his default is usually to be aggressive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Oh, you have something to say?
I was just saying, I agree with that.
Oh, yeah. The man. Come on back. We're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we're going to do Super Bowl predictions. I'm going to give you 3 sleepers for the Lions to draft late in the NFL draft, for the Lions to consider, just to take home with a few nuggets of knowledge, do a little bit more research on your own. So I'll give you 3 sleepers that maybe you haven't been talking about. We'll do Super Bowl predictions. What's trending with JB? And then mailbag to end things off. But Kool-Aid, will you tell them first about Lady Jane's?
I will, man. Come to Lady Jane's
Lots of
Haircuts for
Kool-Aids.
Men for an award-winning haircut experience. Register to win a trip of your dreams. An all-expenses paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tourney. That's right, no expense spared for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked
awesome.
Come to Lady Jane's for an award-winning haircut experience and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Game is won in the trenches, and our big fellas don't mess around. The Woodward Heavyweights on Woodward Sports.
Oh, yeah. Nothing. G-G-G-G-A. Oh, sorry. I forgot. There we go. Oh, cheers, buddy. I think we need to get you a pick.
Game is won in the trenches, and our big fellas don't mess around. The Woodward Heavyweights on Woodward Sports.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, Woodward.
Let's go. We need
man.
to get like an intro, some theme music. Maybe that's on the to-do list. Maybe not. Wink, wink.
We got to do that.
Yeah.
We'll definitely get something done, man. Hey, welcome back to the show, man. What up, though, Detroit?
What up, though?
It's been a good one, man. Definitely, you guys stay busy in the chats. Ask us, get your questions ready for later in the show for mailbag. And definitely hit that like button to support, man. It helps the show. It helps the crew. It helps push this stream out into the internet of things, right?
Oh, yeah. The algorithm, they say. You know, I'm just going to say Taylor Swift just in conversation. We're not going to talk about it, but the more I say Taylor Swift's name, that all helps the algorithm pushes out. You know, we're talking Super Bowl, Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce. All the algorithm is working. We're not talking Taylor Swift. I refuse. Although I do kind of like her music. But
Secret Swiftie over here.
Nobody was going to back him up on that?
That's JB's girl. He'll back me up.
She's got some decent music, but you know.
Oh, so it's that kind of relationship you guys have, right? JB. It's one of those.
Yeah. I heard there's a song about me on the next album, so I'm a little upset.
What's it called? Actually, don't tell me. Chat. What is the next song Taylor Swift is going to write about her relationship with JB Smoove in the booth? We'll read off the best song titles here in the chat. In the meantime, before we get to Super Bowl predictions, I promised everybody, we were going back and forth on Twitter last night. You just want three sleeper prospects for the Lions to target, to think about in the upcoming NFL draft. And I'm going to be quick with it. So take some of these names, go home, do some more research. We're going to start some mock drafts next week. We're going to do more draft talk next week after the Super Bowl concludes. But there's a guy I got to tell you about first. This is a cornerback who you might be able to find in the middle of the draft, rounds 3 through 5. His name is Nudie. Hey, actually, his real name is Dwight McGlothern. His nickname is Nudie. He plays at Arkansas. 4 years. He's a senior from Arkansas. Estimated to go between the 3rd and the 5th round. This is a guy I think, from my first bit of research with him, would fit really well with this Lions team. He's a true outside press man type corner. He's 6'2", 190 pounds. So he's got very, very long limbs, long arms, long limbs.
Great size.
Great size, as Brandon Dillinger would say in the chat. He was a transfer from LSU to Arkansas. That's where Frank Ragnow went. And he's gotten better each and every year. He struggled his first season at LSU. Opponents' QB rating just continued to lower and lower each year. This past season, in 9 games while playing 382 snaps, he finished with a QB rating when targeted of 50.7. So this is a very savvy 4-year player. I think 2-3-year starter. He's one that you guys should maybe go look at. KG, just real quick, cornerback is in multiple round need probably for these Detroit Lions.
Yeah, because you got to build depth in that room. Because what we suffered from this year was a lack of depth. And I know they didn't intend to have that happen, but you just got to have contingencies in place, especially when you're trying to make a Super Bowl push. So, yes, I do expect them to maybe even get 2 corners in this draft.
Yeah.
And maybe sign one as well in free agency.
You think they need an edge, too?
Absolutely. Edge, interior lineman, and cornerback are the positions of need on this defense, and I expect them to address a lot of that in the draft. As Brad Holmes told us, they like to re-sign and keep their own guys, so I would expect him to make more moves in the draft and free agency, but he should also sign somebody off the free agent market as well.
Absolutely. Or there's a guy by the name Javon Solomon out of Troy. This is an edge rusher, estimated between the 4th and the 7th round. When I've looked at him, he's like a mix of Josh Pascal and James Houston all bundled up in one, which is probably why he's a little smaller in size, probably why he's not near the higher rounds of the draft. He led all of FBS in sacks with 16 sacks this season. There's a lot of good savvy type run or pass rush things that he's done and learned through his time at Troy. So he's one to keep an eye on. I'm going to break him down a little more as we get into it. I really like his game. And lastly, just with the Frank Ragnow talk going on, center Brian Hudson out of Louisville. Estimated between the 5th and the 7th round. He's great. He's a veteran, 6'4", 297. But the one thing I wanted to point out, which I saw, which was interesting, he's an All-American track and field athlete in the shot put and the discus. So this is a strong man from Louisville. He transferred from Virginia Tech. This is someone late in the draft. He might even be an undrafted free agent after the draft, but he's won maybe some more reinforcements with Frank Ragnow now committing to come back. I don't know if they go up and get Jackson Powers Johnson. We'll see how they address the early picks, but this might be a late one to keep adding to that offensive line. So there you go. 3 sleepers in the middle to late rounds for your Detroit Lions.
Hey, I love that, man. And I love when you guys talk football, too. I always come away feeling a lot more smarter about the Detroit Lions and the moves ahead and what they already have on the squad, man.
I love it.
Definitely.
I love it. It's all
Thanks
the goal.
work,
the goal to get to the Super Bowl. It starts, especially with what Brad Holmes does, starts with the NFL draft, and they're on their way there. But enough talk about the future. Although we're going to talk about the future in 2 days. Sunday, the Super Bowl's happening. We got to go around before what's trending with JB and get your Super Bowl prediction. So, Kool-Aid, I'm going to start with you. San Francisco 49ers in Las Vegas, favored by 2.5 points over the Kansas City Chiefs. It just happened to have Patrick Mahomes on their team. That's why I'm not going to you first. What's your prediction? Give me a score prediction and any quick thoughts you might have, Kool-Aid.
I think Patrick Mahomes inches that much closer towards kind of taking Tom Brady off of that mantle just a little bit, man. I believe that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to beat the San Francisco 49ers 24-17.
24-17 Chiefs over 49ers.
Yeah.
I dig it.
And JB's dream of Taylor Swift touching the Super Bowl trophy will come true.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
That's going to happen.
KG. What about you? Super Bowl.
I got 27-21 Kansas City, man. What I saw from the 49ers, man, I just don't fully believe in them. Offensively, they'll be fine. Defense, I mean, on paper, they have a great defense, but they struggle at times, man. And when you look at the Chiefs finally having a decent run game with Isaiah Pacheco, who's done a great job in the playoffs of giving Patrick Mahomes that extra relief And just with that Kansas City defense, man, I think they're going to pull it out. Taylor Swift's in attendance. You know what's going to happen, man. They're going to raise that trophy. She's going to be on the stage. But 27-21 Chiefs victory, and Mahomes gets that much closer to greatness.
Yes, JB Smoove. JB Smoove, what do you think about that? What do you think about this 49ers versus Chiefs Super Bowl matchup?
I kind of have the same score as KG, actually, but it's Chiefs 27, 49ers 24.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the difference maker is going to be in the fourth quarter of what defense can step up. And I'm leaning towards KC just a little bit more. I know the 49ers have given up at least 27 points per game in this postseason. So I think the Chiefs defense will eventually step up just a little bit more. And, of course, Patrick Mahomes is going to be Patrick Mahomes. So you can't count him out. And, yes, obviously, unfortunately, Taylor Swift will touch a Lombardi trophy. Damn it.
Is that what Travis calls it? I'm going to go with the San Francisco 49ers. You guys all pick Chiefs, and I have a feeling I know what's coming next, but I'm going to go with the 49ers with a 27-17 win over the Chiefs. I really want to pick Patrick Mahomes, and it won't surprise me if he wins, but these 49ers are tough. They got over the Lions. They got over the NFC Championship hump, and they're going to go beat the Chiefs. Isaac Pacheco, who you brought up, I think he's going to have a big game.
He's the X factor in this game.
When he gets to the outside, like we saw we were hoping to see a little bit more, but we saw Jahmyr Gibbs break it out there. That's where San Francisco is probably weakest in their defense.
Yeah.
So I say all that. I'm still picking the 49ers. 27-17. But the moment we've all been waiting for. Yeah. This final. What's your Super Bowl prediction?
Oh, yeah. Drum roll, please. I am going with the Kansas City Chiefs, to the shock of absolutely no one. Yeah, I know, right?
Shock and awe.
I had no idea you were going to pick those guys.
Okay, thank you for that. Now that we've got that out of the way, I've got the Chiefs winning this game 24-20, so at least I kept it close. So I think that the Chiefs have a positional advantage at two key positions. Quarterback, Patrick Mahomes clears Brock Purdy by a mile, although I respect and like Brock Purdy. And in the secondary room, I think that's where the Kansas City Chiefs are really going to give the 49ers receivers and their weapons some trouble, although you can't completely stop them. Trent McDuffie, L'Jarius Sneed, you've got Edwards and Reed. I think that they're going to be a key to this game. And another key to this game, because the Chiefs' defense this year is actually really damn good.
They are.
I think that George Karlaftis is a sleeper defensive MVP of this game. I think it would be wise if they lined him up more against the tackle opposite Trent Williams. I think they'll do that. I think Steve Spagnuolo will cook up some things, who is a damn good defensive coordinator in his own right. And Patrick Mahomes has his best Super Bowl performance of his entire career. Give me the Chiefs. Third Super Bowl MVP for Patrick Mahomes.
Hey, Sam, real quick, what you think Mahomes' number is going to be in this game? If you had to guess.
21 of 27, 245 yards. Two touchdowns, no pick. Pacheco gets one on the ground.
Let's go.
So I guess technically last year's Super Bowl by the numbers was better, but he didn't even throw for 200 yards last year. So I guess just another Super Bowl MVP. I'll just go with that. Because when you really pressed me, I'm like, I did go 24-20, so 2 touchdowns, no picks.
Wow. Okay. I bet Pacheco is excited that C.J. Gardner-Johnson isn't in the Super Bowl this time around to get around that outside. But no.
That's a good point. C.J. Gardner-Johnson lit him up last year. He did.
He did.
He did.
That was a big play.
Yeah.
Yeah. They can feel the tension in the room. Just slowly out. CJ will be in this game next year. No, we're going to come back with What's Trending with JB. I believe we have another read by you, the Premier Pet Supplies. Kool-Aid, could you tell our awesome audience?
Yeah, hey, look, y'all already know where I go for my Detroit Lion, man. Give your pet the best. Premier Pet Supply is hands down Michigan's best pet store. Same prices and all the conveniences of the online and big box retailers, with one major difference: family and locally owned and operated for 30 plus years. Over 60 brands of food with nutrition experts to help you. Same day, local curbside and home delivery. Premier Pet Supply. Give your pet the best at www.premierpetsupply.com.
Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
We aren't quite sure if they consume more beer or sports. Either way, the heavyweights are here. Live on Woodward Sports, daily 5 to 7 p.m.
Savor the heart of home at Big Boy with our all-new down-home comfort dishes. Feast on home-style goodness with our Southern Comfort Chicken Bowl, veal parmigiana, and apple pie hotcakes. The down-home delight doesn't stop there. Potato pancakes are back. Dive into the richness of our perfectly crafted potatoes with our classic potato pancakes and our stuffed potato pancakes. Top off your meal with our new gingerbread shake, a seamless blend of creamy vanilla and sweet gingerbread flavors. Nothing beats the comforting taste of down-home cooking. Enjoy every bite, only at Big Boy.
What up, though, Detroit, man? Welcome back to Wake Up Woodward, and I think it's everybody's probably favorite segment, man. It's like one of the best segments in just Detroit sports media. This is The Rock.
The Roll.
This is The Rock. Like, you know how The Rock, he was the most entertaining man?
Yeah.
Like, what's trending with JB Smoove, man? It's it.
JB Smoove in the news. JB, kick us some of these trending stories. You teased one in between breaks earlier in the show, so I can't wait. I can't wait to see what you have cooked up for us.
Yeah. I know I'm not playing the COTY versus Rock thing. I think we all kind of know how that's gone and is going to go.
The smack heard around the world.
the smack heard around the world. That is correct. But the NFL honors was the other night. Now, a lot of awards got announced, but there were some that they kind of left off the table. So I will present to you guys the least valuable player of the year award.
LVP?
Ooh. Going to Kadarius Toney, everybody.
Oh my God!
Did Sam say let's go?
Yeah, he said absolutely.
The least valuable player of the year award, and how could you not forget the DUI of the year award? Going to Patrick Mahomes.
The DUI of the year. He was smiling in his mugshot.
Going to Patrick Mahomes Sr. there.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just upset that those awards didn't get put on TV like they should have. But I still got a lot more things to tell you guys about what's trending.
Also, everyone, it's Super Bowl weekend, so please drink responsibly. If you're drinking, do not get behind the wheel. This is funny. We're making some jokes, but please be safe. Be safe. Call Uber, call a Lyft, call a cab, call me. Call 313-552-6322, and I'll come get you. Sorry, JB, go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. We are making jokes about it, but still at the same time, Super Bowl weekend, if you have a little bit too much to drink, please get someone else to drive you home. But it's a sad day, you guys. I'm not too sure if this is true or not, but I seen this on Twitter, or X, I should say, and Arizona iced teas went up.
Oh, what?
No. What?
Yeah.
You talking about the 99-cent cans?
The prices on the can, yes, they are now $2.
Are you kidding me?
What in the name of inflation is that?
No, hold on, pause. Some of the stores, do their own markups. Is this an actual change from Arizona themselves?
I don't know for sure. I just seen this on X that someone took a picture that, hey, the Arizona iced teas went up. And then I seen a commercial that now it's not only 99 cents, but it's $1.50.
Jesus Christ.
Wow.
What world are we living in?
What has changed? I don't understand this, you guys.
No, if you hear JB say the words, it's a sad day, you know something's coming.
Yes.
Look, I just don't understand this at all. Like, hopefully Arizona can fix this, because this is ridiculous.
Yeah, for all you maybe a little younger people in the chat, Arizona iced tea, it says 99 cents on the can. Like that's been the price. I don't want to say forever, but
it's a staple for forever.
Yeah,
My whole
it's
life.
part of their brand.
Yeah,
right. So this is big.
That's crazy.
Big.
It's like the Detroit Lions. They just flipped the world over on top of his head, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what happened.
I know I'm not paying for a $2.
This is why Dan Campbell didn't get Coach of the Year. This is why.
Precisely.
All right, but lastly, I got to tell you guys about this. Yesterday, the statue for Kobe Bryant was revealed at the Crypto.com arena. Surprisingly enough, he will get 3 statues at the arena. And also, everyone in attendance last night, even though the Lakers lost, they did receive a Black Mamba jersey when they were in the stands. Every single person got one. But the main statue was revealed, and I don't know about you guys, but it's not what I expected.
Yeah.
Like I like it when this picture is next to it and I can remember that moment. You showed all the images yesterday. I don't believe this was on it.
This was not.
I don't necessarily think of Kobe. Like, the actual statue looks great. But I don't know if it's the most memorable position.
Yeah. And to JB's point, I had a problem with it until Vanessa Bryant came out and said that this was pose that Kobe chose. So after that, I kind of came down. Plus, you said he's getting another 2 statues.
Yeah, he's getting 2 more statues.
Then I'm with you there.
Yeah, so now that makes it okay. But yeah, at first glance, it's like, what the hell, you know? But
yeah.
I didn't see the Vanessa Bryant interview, so I got to.
And you're saying that there's what, two more trophies, statues on the way?
Yeah, there's 2 more statues that they're going to put outside of the arena. I'm not too sure what the poses will be. Hopefully, it's the jersey tug, because that's would have been one of my favorites.
And the classic Kobe.
Kobe. Last question I'm going to pose to you guys. By the way, actually, real quick, JB, what's trending with JB Smooth? Let's go, baby.
The most electrifying segment in Detroit sports media.
That's right. Is it fair to say that, at least for 1 week, Kadarius Toney was the MVP of the Detroit Lions?
Absolutely.
You might be able to say it for, what was it, Green Bay? Against the Green Bay Packers? Or step on the line? He's definitely not the MVP for the Chiefs. It's hard to slander someone whose team's in the Super Bowl, but we'll poke a little fun.
We'll find a way.
Yeah,
we'll find a way.
MVP.
What was that line, to quote Chris Boswell when talking about Matt Canada? It wasn't because of you why the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl.
I don't remember that one.
Oh,
was that this year?
Yeah, that was this year. Walking back in through the tunnel after a game that the Steelers had won. But yeah, Kadarius Toney had the worst wide receiver season ever.
I feel like when the Lions make the Super Bowl next year, that's going to be flannel to CJ GJ.
Oh, zing!
Let's let whatever season play out, or he may be on another team. We shall see.
Is Kadarius Toney the Brandon Knight of the NFL?
Worse. Infinitely worse. That's an insult to Brandon Knight.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I think I'm with you, Slay. I think it might be an insult.
Oh, man.
Dude, he dropped the pass that was returned for a pick 6 by Brian Branch. He lined up offsides that negated a go-ahead touchdown in the final minutes against the Buffalo Bills. And then for just good measure, for shits and giggles, he dropped another one right in his hands that cost Patrick Mahomes an interception against the Patriots. I'm not saying that cost them the game or anything. But by the way, when the Chiefs were driving to potentially kick the go-ahead field goal or score the go-ahead touchdown against the Lions, Kadarius Toney dropped a pass. So he sucks. He's awful. He's awful. Get out of the league.
Stay out. No, come on back. Mail back. Get your questions in. We got about 7 minutes left. Get all the questions, any sport, any topic, Super Bowl, whatever you want, get them in. Let me tell you first about Feldman Chevrolet. Because since 1996, they've been driven to provide a first-class automotive car buying experience called the Feldman Advantage. They have 18 dealerships, so there has to be a location near you. Just visit feldmanauto.com to find more. Also, catch Woodward Sports there every other Monday. That's why. Feldman.
Feel alive during Feldman Chevrolet's biggest New Year's sales event ever. Get the best prices on our huge selection of award-winning Chevrolets. Like this 2024 Equinox for $188 per month. Or this 2024 Silverado for $268 per month. It's the New Year's sales event going on now at Feldman Chevrolet, Michigan's #1 Chevy dealer.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Hi, my diamonds. It's Crystal with an X. You want to get hot and perfect like me? Here's my super easy routine. Drink at least a gallon of water before you wake up. Attach a weight to everything in your house. Hello? Sell your car and just sprint everywhere. Scream when you exhale.
Don't follow Crystal with an X. Do your own thing at Planet Fitness with tons of equipment and free fitness training in our clean and spacious clubs. Join now for just $10 a month and cancel anytime.
Welcome back, Detroit, man. Let's wake up,
Let's
Woodward. Let's rock, man. Let's
Can't
rock.
sit down anymore.
See, man, now I just feel short, man. I gotta stand up. I still feel short. I'm 6'2" and I feel short. Thank you, brother, for that, man.
I do what I can. I try. I drank my milk as a kid.
Oh my goodness.
What you gonna do?
But it's mailbag time, bro.
It is mailbag time. If before we get into this, you guys could hit that like button, I would really appreciate it. We would really appreciate it. It'll help us push more great content out for you. But mailbag, wait, I see Tailgate wins in here. I love you, chat. I'm gonna go to Tailgate real quick.
Shout out
this is Nick. He's in the heavyweights booth, the heavyweight sound booth. Spenmo Rex, Easy, Chris Platty, and we got Nick Detroit Mario in the sound booth. He says, "Congratulations on the great first week, fellas. Keep crushing." Mailbag, what is your go-to Super Bowl food or drink? Let's go around real quick. Kool-Aid.
It's got to be wings for me, man.
You sticking
to
wings?
Be wings? Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Pizza and a nice cold Coke.
And an ice cold Coke.
Cold Coke.
Yes.
Oh.
What are you playing?
I was gonna say pizza and Coke with grenadine.
Grenadine.
Do they call that?
wait.
So that's not a Shirley Temple, but does that have a name, or is that just a special drink that?
No, Sprite with grenadine is a Shirley Temple.
Okay.
So Coke with grenadine is just Coke with grenadine. It's like homemade cherry Coke or like custom cherry Coke.
I'm rocking.
Yeah,
that sounds kind of good.
I like that. I like that. Not bad. I probably got to go with the wings and probably Coors Light, traditional beer. You know.
Ooh.
Okay. I think that. I'm more just like chips and dip, chips and salt. Like I don't know. I don't eat a meal. I'm snacking the whole time. But that's just me. Do we have any car aficionados? Any of you guys like cars?
I like cars.
No, a little bit. Okay, I'm going to ask Eduardo O'Neill's question. Mailbag. I'm buying a Camaro. Yeah, buddy.
Ooh.
Any cool things I should do or get on it? I know nothing, so you guys speak up while I look for another mailbag question.
Hey, definitely some rims though, right?
Yeah,
I'm not go wrong with that.
I'm not a fan of the newer Camaros though, like the body style. I don't necessarily care for them, but to each his own.
Hey, Eastside Johnny, mailbag. Realize Pistons are going into year 5 of rebuild. Kool-Aid, how long will it be before Pistons are a contender? His daughter is 5. Will it be when she is 14? That's 9 years.
I was looking forward to them actually being a much better team this year. At least being able to hit that over on the 28.5 that Vegas set to start the season, and then being able to have a nice foundation to build on. With what this season has been, now your only hope is if these young players are what they are starting to seem like. I think that they're still, in terms of being contenders, man, your daughter might be 10 years old before they're actually contenders or later, man. Just being for real with you. Unless Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duran can continue to all score 20 points per game, which is what they've been doing the last couple of games, and that's something they can carry on, it's going to be tough.
All right. How about this from Shad to continue the Pistons real quick? Shad 216JF mailbag. Now that Hayes isn't on the team anymore, can we all admit that the hate he got was OD in Neanderthal behavior? What's your opinion?
I think a little bit of hate was a little bit much, but when you kind of juxtapose that with being a number 7 draft pick, when you kind of look at the fact that he was taken above players that all of us wanted, like Tyrese Halliburton, and you look at all of the different opportunities he got, I think a lot more people were frustrated with the fact that, especially this year, that he was being put in a position that he just didn't earn and he did not deserve. And he should never have been playing over Jaden Ivey. And I think that kind of compounded a lot of the hate.
Love that. This is Detroit Kool-Aid. Brandon Dent. He's our Pistons beat reporter, our insider here at the Woodward Sports Network.
Let me just say something to you, Shad.
No,
is it Neanderthal behavior to criticize a player who was a guard, who started a lot of games, by the way, and never once in his entire 4-year tenure here shot above 30% from 3, who only one season shot above 40% from the floor, and as a total shot under 40% his entire career here? Is it Neanderthal behavior to expect more from a number 7 overall pick? Shad, was Killian perfectly fine? Were you happy with what he produced here? Because I've never seen you criticize him. That is why you are one of the chat LVPs. And I know we don't like to do that in here, but Shad, this isn't your day, man. Come on.
Damn.
He sucks. He didn't even a trade partner wasn't even found. He got released. Come on.
You just got flanneled.
Silly question.
Zing! I just had one. You disappeared. Anthony Patterson, mailbag. If the Lions snag L'Jarius Sneed and Daniil Hunter in free agency, could you then care less about the NFL draft, KG?
I wouldn't say care less, but that would be like amazing if they were able to pull that off, man. That would be absolutely something. But you still have to add depth pieces to this team. So absolutely the draft would still be very important.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that, especially seeing kind of how they got decimated on injuries at certain positions. I don't think that one player makes or breaks over the course of a whole season, but they definitely can add to what you're trying to do.
I gotta say it. Oh, go ahead.
Hey,
You first.
and now Shad's trying to compare Killian Hayes to Aiden Hutchinson. Get out! Get out forever, man. What are you even talking about? You're now comparing Killian Hayes to Aiden Hutchinson. Is it Neanderthal behavior to expect more from Hutchinson? He's a second overall pick. No, because Aiden Hutchinson's actually done a damn thing in his career. Killian Hayes did nothing.
That's a crazy comparison.
Nothing. Shad, you're just trolling, man. And if you're serious, you need to get some help. Stop it. Jesus, man. Are you allowed to just say anything in here?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, technically, yeah, but still. Shad's laughing. Damn it, he got me. He got me.
Shout out to Shad, man.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
I'm a KG and JB.
I love it. So are we discussing that one or no?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, that's a mailbag question.
That.
Maybe we turn that into a segment or something. No.
Aiden Hutchinson, Killian Hayes.
Yeah, I got a question for these two. Also, Danielle Hunter, I think the Lions need to go after. They need to go get that man.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Paying him is also paying for Aiden Hutchinson, helping out your secondary. Danielle Hunter would be
That'd be nice.
amazing. But this one's for you two, KG and JB from Xavier D. Mailbag. What's your favorite wrestling entrance music, fellas? I know it's Adam Cole, but what do you think?
That's tough, man. Right now, my favorite is Swerve Strickland, man. I don't know how you don't like that entrance. Prince Nana at his side doing the dance. Yeah, I swerve when I drop. Man, it's so hard, man. But that would be it. And then I like Cody's theme song a lot, man. It gets the juices flowing. Pause.
That's a good one as well. I do like Swerve Strickland's intro, but I got to go with the classic. You can't go wrong with it. It's the glass shattering. It's Stone Cold for me all day.
If we talking all time, definitely Stone Cold. When that glass shattered, you knew what the hell was up. You knew you was about to get your ass beat, man. So absolutely, that's a good one, JB.
If I can't do that one, I probably got to go with the John Cena, especially the one when he was at Ford Field driving into Ford Field, crashing the glass.
Oh,
and
yeah,
him stepping out of the car. That was a good one as well too. But yeah, so it's either Stone Cold or John Cena for me.
Love it. Last question, Kool-Aid. I'm sending it back to you.
Yes, sir.
Just to clarify something on this deadline, Chuck Brewer says Woodward Pistons, Kool-Aid. Hayes was released because a trade would have carried the cap hold into the summer, which nobody wanted. Fair? Is that accurate?
Yeah. You know, it's like we just traded for Simone Fontecchio. We get his RFA rights as well. When you actually release this player, it releases, like that's what the Pistons would have had to do. If they carried him until the end of the year, then you would have to deal with waiving or releasing him. Then I think that they just decided, you know what, let's just get rid of this right now. Let's allow him to kind of move on right now and pick a team and not have that be the weight. That's the reason why a team will or won't take on Killian Hayes. But yeah, he had a qualifying offer, $10 million cap hold because of his draft slot. If you kind of release him, it allows him to be more, if another team's going to pick him up, a little bit more appealing in that light.
Love it. That'll do it for us today. Kool-Aid, if you want to take us out, I appreciate the chat. Appreciate everyone for joining, tuning in this morning. Have fun this weekend. Be safe.
Hey.
Enjoy this Super Bowl if you're watching.
Yeah, hey, you know what? Shout out to everybody that supported us all week, man. This was our first week doing the new Wake Up Woodward, man. We appreciate everybody that's been here. Please put a like before on the stream before you take off for your day. And thank you for Flannel Sam, for being here this week, man. This was dope, man. This was a dope first week. Broder,
we're learning, baby. We're getting better.
Booth boys, man. Shout out to you guys as well. KG, JB. That kind of rhymes too. And you know what? You guys keep bringing the heat as well. I like your hat today, JB. And obviously KG got the shirt, man. It's fire, man.
Appreciate
it's fire.
it.
So definitely hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy it. And can't wait to see you guys bright and early Monday morning at 8 a.m.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Peace.